The worst list. In the words of AMC Movie Talk, bring on the filthy. Now, I didn't see that many awful films this year. That's because, I don't see every single film. In fact, a lot of times when I go to the movies, I want to see something that's either good. I want to see something that I think I'll enjoy. I mean, that's not to say that all the films I see I enjoy, but most of the time when I go to the movies, I want to see something good. So a lot of the films I see wind up either being good or okay, and very rarely do I see something awful. I mean, like, most of the bad movies are stuff I don't see in theaters, but just see when on DVD or something. So a lot of the films on here aren't that bad. I mean, it's only when we get to the last couple or so that you're going to start seeing some ones that genuinely suck. I mean, most of the films on here are films I saw in theaters that were just like alright or eh. Like, the first half of this list is films I either just thought were okay or I just really didn't care for. But yeah, again, I'm not Jeremy Jahns. I don't see every film. If I saw every film, this list would be full of like stinkers galore. But since I don't, it's not. Again, they aren't all bad. So I'm just gonna go down the list, starting from the least worst film I saw this year to the worst film I saw this year. And again, there's gonna be a couple on here I didn't review on my channel just simply because I didn't see them in theaters or until much later. And again, I've already reviewed most of these, so again, if you want more in depth, just look around on my channel and just watch my review, or just go onto my website and just read my vlogs on each of them. So without any further ado, let's get to my worst list. At number 10, we have Unbroken. This is a film that my brother was really looking forward to, which prompted me to read the book Unbroken, which is really good. I'd highly recommend you read the book. The movie, I didn't hate it as much as everyone else did, but I definitely was a bit let down by it. I mean, I've already told the story, but I wanted to go see American Sniper, but it sold out, so I wound up going to see this. And I thought the stuff with Lewis, I thought the sequences in the raft, the sequences in the plane were great, but I really didn't care for the rest. And I think a lot of that just had to do with the fact that they didn't really flesh out the main character, Lewis. They didn't do a good job explaining what makes him tick, what he thinks, because a lot of it is just him not really talking and just getting beaten. They forced in some really stupid, Jesus imagery, and most importantly, they didn't really they mainly just focused on him getting beaten in the camps as opposed to actually just showing him, showing the other stuff in the camps. And they also just glossed over what happened to him after him getting captured, which was the interesting part. Him dealing with post-traumatic stress, him finding recovery for religion. All the stuff in the text should have been in the film, because that's really interesting. At number 9, we have Amazing Spider-Man 2. This is a film that I really wasn't looking forward to. I mean, the marketing was making it look terrible. They were just showing everything. I was really worried this was just going to be Spider-Man 3 all over again, and AMC Movie Talk was just something about the way they were covering it just made it seem like it was going to fail, and surprisingly, I didn't hate it. In fact, I thought up until the last 10 to 15 minutes, it was pretty good. And the ending I thought sucked. That was terrible, that was awful, but this was nowhere near the disaster that Spider-Man 3 was. It was a lot more focused. There was nothing really cringeworthy or unpleasant to watch this time around. It just had an ending that just felt really terrible, and I felt like a lot of it just had to do with Sony. I felt like the people making the film, the writers, actually really knew what they were doing and really cared. But the people the studio execs didn't. And that's really frustrating, because as a Spider-Man fan, it was a film that I thought was pretty good and really gave us a really good look. It's an interesting take on Spider-Man, but they just ruined it with the ending. But I'm hopeful that they can make up for it with the next film, Sinister Six, but we'll just have to wait and see. Number 8 is Foxcatcher. I'm probably going to be on the minority in this. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, and this might just boil down to me not getting it. It probably is, but I just really didn't find it that interesting. I mean, I mainly just saw it for. I wasn't really interested in the film to begin with. I'm not too big on a lot of the artsy Oscar films. I mean, that's not to say that there aren't some that I'll really like. I mean, if you watch my top 10 list, like a lot of the films on there are Oscar contenders, some of which I watched even before I knew they were going to get nominated. Specifically, Grand Budapest and Selma. Well, Selma, I had a feeling it would get nominated. But this one, I didn't care for it. I thought the atmosphere was really nice. I really loved the way it shot, but I just never really got into what was happening. And I don't want to go into too much depth, but I didn't find Steve Carell's performance to be all that interesting. I mean, if you watch my impersonations video, that's pretty much what I thought of Steve Carell. Just not really much. Just talk like this. Not really, but like I did it better in the previous video when I still had my voice, whereas now like my throat's getting dry from talking so much. But again, it wasn't a bad film. I didn't get into it or care for it. Number 6 is a film that I actually didn't like. It was The Giver. And the book, there were a lot of elements of it I thought were good. I thought casting-wise was good, especially Jeff Bridges as The Giver. And I did like how they filmed a lot of it in black and white and it gradually got colorful. The problem is that when they were writing the story, it just felt a little too much like it was trying to be Hunger Games. Like, there were so many characters, like it was a bit more about just taking down the dystopian society and good versus evil. There was like a romance that wasn't in there in the book. You had a Meryl Streep villain that wasn't in the book. Like all this stuff that was in the book that they just put in there to make it feel like Hunger Games. And I don't want to see the Hunger Games. When I see a movie, when I see a film adaptation of a book, I want to see that. I don't want to see something else. If I want to watch Hunger Games, I'll watch Hunger Games. I want to see The Giver. But, well. At number 5 is Transcendence. This is a film that I just kept hearing a lot of not so great things about. And when I went, and I was, honestly, the story of how I saw this, I was like, over the summer at my job, I was like off with some guys. Like we were on our break, and we just sat down and watched the movie. And it was one of those films where, again, I was interested in it because I don't know. For some reason, I thought Christopher Nolan was making it, which makes sense because a lot of this film has a lot of Nolan-esque things. And yeah, this is one of those films I didn't talk about review, so I'm going to review it now. And no, that's not me talking about the film, that's me talking about. I didn't review this movie, so I'm reviewing it for you guys now. But yeah, I found out that one of the guys making it worked for Christopher Nolan, which explains why it felt like it in terms of the way it was shot. Like, certain cast members like Morgan Freeman and the Scarecrow were in it. But it wasn't that engaging. I thought there were some really interesting ideas and stuff set up, but I don't think any of it was executed well. The story dragged, and it was really boring, and I just didn't care for anything. But yeah, so that's my review. At number 4 is A Million Ways to Die in the West. This is a film that I was actually looking forward to. Like, I enjoy Seth MacFarlane. I liked it, and I thought, he's going to do another good film. And yeah, there were some funny moments. There were moments when I laughed, but a lot of this film was just really boring. There were just a lot of moments in the film that there was nothing really funny going on. The moments that were funny were shown in the trailer, so a lot of the laughs came out of me. And some of the humor was just so repulsive and disgusting, it was like something out of Scary Movie. But ironically enough, this actually looks really good when you compare it to the awfulness that was Hot Tub Time Machine 2, which I had to sit for this weekend. But yeah, I mean, all this film does is just make me beg Seth MacFarlane to stop making movies, and I'm not looking forward to Ted 2 after sitting through this. Number 4, I just messed up the numbers I'll just recap real quick. 10 is Unbroken, 9 is Amazing Spider-Man 2, 8 is Foxcatcher, 7 is The Giver, 6 is Transcendence, 5 is A Million Ways to Die. Number 4 is The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. I was not looking forward to this film. I just saw it to get it over because I saw the other film. And I figured, why not? And I got what I was going to expect. It was long, it was drawn out, it was empty. I didn't care for anything. I wish this had just been 2 movies or one. You could have done it in one, honestly, but they drew it out to a trilogy. And this is the prequels all over again. Like, the CGI, the hype, the disappointment, and I just want to forget this trilogy ever happened. Number 3 is The Legend of Hercules. This is, again, another film I didn't review for you guys, so I'm going to do it now. This is on here because it was bad, but it's just poorly made in general. I mean, acting is terrible, the story is so generic and so cliche. There are some moments where the effects are really bad, like there's a scene where it's raining and you can clearly tell the rain is CGI, like looks fake, it's one of those films where you need to wonder how this got made, and if the filmmakers, what was going through their minds. Like, did they honestly think they had something great here? Like, I want to watch the commentary just to hear what they were saying about the film. Because at times it doesn't even feel like a movie. That's how bad it was. It's like, is this a joke? Did someone actually put this together and release it in theaters? And the reason why this film isn't lower on the list, because, as you can tell, I didn't hate it. The reason why is because while it was really poorly made, I didn't hate it. Like, oftentimes with bad films, I'll be revolted, I'll be disgusted, I'll be rolling my eyes. This film was unintentionally funny. It was laughably bad. Like, it's one of those movies, it's like Sharknado. It's that movie, you know it's terrible, but there's so many but it's just so poorly made, and there are just so many unintentionally funny moments that you're just sitting back and laughing at it most of the time. And I mean, that's not what the filmmakers intended at all. They intended to take The Legend of Hercules seriously, but I cannot take this movie seriously. From the way the lines are being delivered to the effects to, like, the film's excessive use of speed up and slow down. I mean, like, every time someone gets hit in this movie, it just goes to slow motion. And the actor playing Hercules is, like, not actor. He's just, like, angry and just beats stuff up. And, like, it's just so funny to just watch. Like, it's like, this is why I watch bad movies. I mean, you get those movies like Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and you're just like, why do I even bother watching these crappy movies? And then you get movies like this where it's like, this is bad, but it's so entertaining. I mean, I want to thank Jeremy Jahns for mentioning just how laughably bad this movie is. It's like, there's those guilty pleasure movies, if those films that are just like, they are terrible, but you enjoy them anyway, and this is one of them. Like, this is one of the films, for as awful and terrible as it is, there's just something entertaining about how bad it is. Kind of like the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I find really stupid, but I find the stupidity really entertaining. This is like that. And unlike the other 2 films, which I'm going to get to, these were bad, but there was nothing entertaining about how awful they were. They were just boring to watch. Or just really eye-rolling. With that, I'm going to get to my numbers 2 and 1, which you're probably going to be able to figure these out if you've been watching me, or if you just process of elimination. Number 2 is They Came Together. I'm not really a big fan of romantic comedies, but that doesn't mean that you can't make one that's just somewhat engaging. I mean, I didn't really care much for About Time, but I did think, the time travel gimmick's kind of cool. Or Love Actually. It was alright, but... So you can do these movies in a way that I can just find something out of them. It was trying to satirize romantic comedies, which I'm all for. I mean, making fun of the cliches and stuff, but the way they make fun of it, it's just not subtle at all, and there's no wit or clever. It's just not funny, and I barely remember this film. I mean, the only reason I remember this film exists is because I put it on this list. Like, if I just didn't review this film at all or put it on my list, I probably would have completely forgotten it existed. Now I just remember it exists, but I don't remember anything about it. So, like, if I were to just delete this now and just, like, never look at this list again for a million years, I probably would not even remember the film at all, which, well deserved, because it's not a film worth seeing. And number one, in case you haven't guessed, it's a film I didn't review. Duh. Bing! It's Transformers, The Age of Extinction. I hate all the Transformers movies. I think they're all awful and boring. Even the first one, which, although after watching all these films, like, the first one looks really good in comparison, which is how awful these films are. I mean, I don't want to waste too much time talking about it. I mean, there isn't really much to say about why it's awful. All the reasons this film is bad are the reasons the other films is bad. No interesting characters, way too much focus on the boring humans, way too much action. I don't care about any of it. Here's the thing. While it's more of the same, it's not as offensive as Transformers 2, but here's the thing. This is the worst Transformers movie for one reason and one reason only. And the instant I found this thing out about the film, I knew it was going to be the worst. It's almost 3 hours. I mean, for as bad as the other films are, they are much shorter. There's like 20, 30 minutes less time wasted watching it. Like, if this film was like 2 hours or an hour and a half condensed, it would have been one of the better films or the best. But the fact, and it would still have been bad, but it would have been like better. But the fact that the film was as long as it was just made it really painful to watch. I mean, I watched this film online illegally. That's how much I cared. Like, I wanted to see it just to get it over with, just to see how awful it was, and it was awful. Like, everything you'd expect to be in an awful Transformers movie, you got. And I really hope that no one got to see this. And that's all I have to say about that film. So, again, thoughts in the comments below. Comment below and let me know. And stay tuned as I do my Oscar predictions. It's probably going to be short. But until then, I'll see you later. Until then, take care.